Welcome, everybody, as we wait here for a little bit to see some people tune in. Got a lot to talk about today, so give this a few seconds. All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. So we got some people starting to hop in. Let me know in the comments where you're coming in from. I'll let you guys know. I'm coming in from Florida. If you don't know this, live in the Tampa Bay area, so a lot to talk about, as you can imagine, with today, especially with everything going to happen. Hey, Amy. Amy, I believe, if I recall correctly, you're over in the Satellite Beach areas where I grew up, over in Florida. Got a lot to talk about today, especially since we got Ron DeSantis and Elon coming up here. We'll get to that in a little bit. Obviously, the Florida guy can't not talk about that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Give you kind of my thoughts on not so much political wise, but just my thoughts on living in Florida under Ron DeSantis. But mountains of Tennessee. Oh, nice. I have my best friend used to. Oh, at the cabin, got it. My best friend. One of my best friends is from Knoxville, so used to go up there quite some time for the UT games. But yeah, so everybody, thanks for hopping in. Let's take a quick look and see what Tesla's doing. Looks like we're actually here. Let me share this real quick. Looks like we actually have some decent recovery here from Tesla on somewhat of a tumultuous day, I would say, in the markets. Hey, Brooke, how's it going? Exploration, how's it going? But yeah, look at this. Tesla's recovering nicely. Tesla fell all the way down to 178 today, coming back. A lot of this is on the heels of everything that's going on right now with will they default, will they not default? So we'll see what happens with all that. I personally think that they'll come to some type of resolution. It's really not in anyone's interest right now to default. There's, obviously from the Democrat side, Biden and his team, they definitely don't want it because it'd be, a stain for them. And from the Republican side, there's really nothing to gain from this. The real fight from the Republican side will be, whenever it comes to deciding on the, renewing of the tax cuts that come in 2025. All right. Look at this. Hey, from Mexico. Nice. I like this. Farzad's actually on his way back from Mexico right now. I think he said he was in Cabo. I texted him earlier today. So hopefully he travels safe. But yeah, so this is looking good for Tesla. Like to see this come back a little bit here. I definitely want to talk a little more about Tesla before we get into the Elon, Ron DeSantis, David Sachs, interview that's going to happen here in a few hours. If you guys don't know, if somehow you don't know, in about 2.5 hours at 6 p.m. Eastern time, Ron DeSantis will be announcing his bid for the White House via Twitter Spaces, and he will be interviewed by Elon Musk with David Sachs as kind of a moderator. So I appreciate this. David Sachs, I know a lot of people probably watch All In Podcast. If you did, then you probably know that he definitely is more of a conservative than a liberal. But if you watched how he moderated and kind of, kept things on the right playing field for Kennedy during the All In Podcast interview with him, and again, he's on the left. I think David Sachs actually did a really good job on that. For a second, I was a little confused because it was so nonpartisan the way David Sachs was conducting himself that I was a little shocked. It's just something I wasn't used to. So this will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what kind of questions Elon asks, see how he probes him, how he, if there's anything that's, kind of a half truth, if Elon or David calls him out. So I think this will be interesting all around. But we'll get to that in a second, in due time. Just, I like to see Tesla coming back here. This is very strong. I feel like we're in a very bullish time. Although there's a lot of chaos going on, I feel like there's a lot of bullish sentiment behind Tesla. And really, it's not even so much Tesla doing anything as much as the competition showing that they have nothing. All right. So let's see. I want to start off actually by taking a look at another quick video. So if you guys are viewing on Twitter Spaces, let me apologize. The audio should still come through from my understanding, but I do want to go through two videos. We'll start off one with here. Let's do this one from CNN Business, and it's talking about Optimus. And I want to talk about Optimus and robotaxis for a second here because I think the market is actually potentially starting to kind of understand this, especially with ChatGPT and everything going on. I think people are starting to understand this. But I want to go through this. I want to kind of show some of the lack of understanding. But I think it's important. So let me go ahead, try to present this, share my screen, make sure I get the right one here. Okay. So you guys should be able to see my screen. I'm gonna blow this up here. Let's see if this works. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna play this for a second. You guys should be able to hear the audio. If you don't hear the audio, just let me know in the comments. But I want to kind of talk about this video as we go through. For those of you who don't know, so my background, I am an engineer, kind of a all kinds of trades engineer. I'm kind of I would say a jack of all engineering, but a master of none is how I would think about it. So I'm pretty in depth on a lot of different facets when it comes to engineering. So, take with what I'm saying with a grain of salt, do your own research and everything. But I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable on a lot of these things. So let's take a look at this. And I kind of want to break apart some things that we see here. Okay, so I want to stop there for a second just to point out that I like how they talked about that, and I don't know if they were kind of using this in jest or not, but 7 months after announcing Optimus, Tesla came out with this prototype ready to go. Kind of walking on its own, not really, but it was doing things right. So in 7 months, they were able to essentially create a minimal viable product, at least in concept. So I think that's pretty impressive. So just want to point that out, just so that because as we talk about this, I want you to think of the rate of progress going on here from a mechanical point of view. So let me push play. All right. So this is really why I was showing this, is for this part. So here it says, for those of you who can't see it, it says, but it still appears to lag behind the capabilities of robots built by Hyundai-owned Boston Dynamics. Okay. So this is really why I want to show this video at all, to kind of intro the discussion of Optimus. Now, I know a lot of people, I don't expect anybody to count Optimus within their price targets or their models right now. What I do on my own times between me and my models. But the truth is, this is a lot closer, I think, than what people realize. Why is that? Why is that, Nick? How do you get to that? Okay. And are you going to say the same thing that, you might have heard on other videos from other people? Well, maybe. So what you saw there from the Boston Dynamics side is very impressive. Okay. The motor controls, the balance, the stability, the sensors, the ability to understand where it's at, what it's doing, how it moves, the human likeness of it is very impressive. Absolutely impressive. Oh, hey, Steven from Ohio. Nice. I actually used to go to Cincinnati a lot. Nice. Well, let's see this real quick. But Boston Dynamics has been working on that for over 30 years. Tesla will pass them soon. Yes, exactly. And more importantly, while Boston Dynamics, what they have accomplished is impressive, right? Like there's no shade being thrown at them, right? Full credit to what they've done. What it's not is practical for real world applications. All right. Doing backflips, doing a full, being able to do all these things, that's not necessary in real world. Now, parts of that application, the dexterity and all that, would that be useful? Sure, it would, but not in the manner that they're using it. What's Tesla going for? Tesla's going for, the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? We want this to be able to do simple, boring task at first, right? Boring, dangerous tasks. Can you move this box from here to there, here to there, here to there? Can you unload this truck? Can you separate this bucket of XYZ? Right? Can you do these things repeated that are repetitive process and do them perfect every single time without any mistakes, without any potential human error? Okay. Let me see. Okay, now I want a robot that can make me skyline chili. Oh, that's funny. Skyline chili is classic. So if you haven't been to Ohio, then you don't know. But skyline chili is awesome. But the point is, with Boston Dynamics, it's not practical for real world. And so really what you see with Boston Dynamics is from a software perspective is really just laced in heuristics all around, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? The majority of code or things that we interface, software we interface, are built off code that's nothing but heuristics. And heuristics is essentially just saying, if this happens, do that, right? And it's that, I'm definitely dumbing it down, but that's all it really is, right? It's essentially logic that you're typing out for itself. It's not like these bots are deciding to do this backflip on its own because it wants to accomplish a certain task, right? It's being told what to do, when to stop, where to end, etc. So the real impressive part, if anything, is in the hardware, in my opinion. So what it seems like CNN is missing here, and really I think everybody's missing, is the fact that Optimus can be ready next year. It could be ready this year, to be frank, right? It doesn't have to do much to be useful. All right. It really doesn't. There's very little has to do. Right. They could train Optimus just to flip burgers, and that's it. They could train Optimus just to take the trash out. They could train Optimus just to move a box from here to there, here to there. That's it. Right. It doesn't have to do a lot to be useful. And the way the world works in really agile type companies like a Tesla, like an Amazon, these companies work under the methodology of creating a MVP model, so a minimal viable product or a minimal lovable product, right? An MLP. And so, in other words, what is the least point or the what is the product we can get out into market as soon as possible that is functionable, actually accomplishes something, and that people can actually love or get passionate about or see the potential for? Think of FSD, right? FSD is the perfect example of a minimal lovable product or minimal viable product, where FSD is out there and people are in love with FSD. If you don't believe me, look no further than Homar's catalog. So that is what Tesla is going for. And that minimal viable product could be done as soon as this year, as next year. It doesn't mean Tesla will do that in scale, but they will definitely do that within their own manufacturing plants. So this is the part that I think people really underestimate when it comes to Optimus, is that, and again, you've probably heard this in other channels, but it's worth reiterating. You don't really need to worry about safety. You don't need to worry about it going through or moving at high speeds that could hurt someone or kill someone. You could literally create this thing, create millions of these things, hundreds of thousands of these things, put them out in the world, and they can only do a handful of things. And then over time, you push out more over-the-air updates, and all of a sudden, it can do something else. It can do a new task. Oh, look what it can do now. Very much like FSD, right? The blueprint is the exact same. It's not different. The only thing that's different is if you need to change out the hardware. And in my opinion, that won't be that big of a deal, because I see them more so creating a lease on the hardware rather than you owning the hardware. And to me, that makes the most sense, right? That way you're leasing the hardware just like you would lease a car, and then you're also paying a subscription. It's the most ideal model for Tesla. From a consumer side, I hate that model. Personally, I don't like subscriptions. I don't like leasing stuff. I want to own stuff. I want to buy it once, be done with it. I don't want a recurring bill, but that's me. And if you heard that, I'm in Florida. It's lightning capital of the world. So that was a big lightning bolt that just hit. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Anyways, let me stop here for a second. Okay. Here we go. We got a divergent opinion. Optimus is so far away. I don't think humanoid robots will take off anytime soon. Tesla already has tons of robots. optimized to do a low amount of tasks incredibly well instead of many at mediocrity. Okay, so parts of this I agree with. Okay, so Tesla does have a lot of robots already, etc. The difference again is that all the robots that they currently have outside of the vehicles work off of heuristics. They're not actually what we would consider AI. Okay, so I partly agree with this, but I don't. You'll see. Optimus is not far away. They're tackling the hardest problems right now, which is actually the hardware part of it, the dexterity, the finesse, and from there, it's just about training. That's all it is. It's all it's going to take. And you can see a perfect example of this with GPT, right? I know everybody's familiar with Chat GPT now, but if you look at the iterations from GPT to GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4, now 5, right? You can see what's been happening under the covers, and you can see how fast that rate of progress is occurring, right? It's literally like a logarithmic curve, right? Or it's looking exponential, really, is what it's looking. So, but I appreciate the comment. Hey, Megan, good to see you. Good to see you. So, all right. So let me take a second here to step back. And so let's go back to talking about this whole thing with AI right now and robots or even the cars. I keep hearing everywhere. Everyone keeps talking about, and if you're just joining, thanks for joining. I always forget to say this stuff. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're going to talk more about Tesla stock price. We're going to talk a little more about AI here. We're going to get into the whole Ron DeSantis, Elon Musk interview that's going to happen today as Ron DeSantis announces his bid for the election. Florida guy here. I live in Florida. I'm not the Florida guy or Florida man, but I live in Florida, so I definitely want to give my thoughts on all of this. But anyways, back to AI. So it seems like right now the hot topic is AI. Everyone wants to talk about AI. AI this, AI that. I tweeted about this yesterday, I think. Every product that comes out now is going to have some moniker of AI. Here's the truth. Very few companies are actually doing anything with AI. And if they are, it's not that great. It just isn't. All right. So I will say Google's doing great things. Microsoft's doing great things. Amazon's doing great things. And Tesla's doing great things. That's really it. Okay. I mean, and I'm biased. I don't know every company out there. I'm sure there's lots of startups or private companies that I don't know about, but that's really all I see at the moment. There are some very interesting cybersecurity companies out there that are doing interesting things because they have a very unique data set. And I think that's going to be very important in the future. But besides that, I just really don't see much out there, right? They're essentially just building certain things on top of foundation models. And they're saying, oh, look, I have this new AI thing that I'm doing. It's like, okay, sort of, kind of, not really. All right. So I think this is going to become once again like a cryptocurrency thing or a metaverse thing where it's the new hot topic thing. It's the new thing everybody wants to be on. And if you want to get investors, you better say AI, right? You better say AI, right? It's just like with the EV thing, right? EV was hot for a while there. You had Nikola, you had Lucid, you have Rivian. Everyone's stocks were soaring. Everyone was so excited. And now where are we, right? Lucid has less than a year's worth of cash left before they go bankrupt. Nikola is, their founders in jail. Rivian seems like they are doing decent. They've got some track there. Palantir's, you know what? I agree with this. Sorry, this just popped up. Palantir is doing great stuff. Now, I will say they're not the most open about what they're doing, so it's really hard to truly understand. But Palantir is a very interesting space within this AI realm. I tie them into that cybersecurity space that I was talking about a second ago. So again, cybersecurity is really where I see a lot of interesting things happening. Some healthcare has a big possibility, but in reality, the big players that I see doing stuff with AI, real AI right now, are going to be the big cloud players and Tesla. That's what I see out there. It doesn't mean that's it. Doesn't mean I'm completely right. I'm just expressing to you what I see, and I'm pretty plugged in and pretty deep into this world. At least I think I am. What do I know, right? Anyways, so I think that this is exciting. I think this is coming a lot faster than people think, and the scalability of this, the profitability of this is insane. And what I also think is really close, and I don't know why, but a lot of people hate when I talk about robotaxis and FSD beta, but it's, if you want Tesla to go to a a $10 trillion valuation, a $5+ trillion valuation, that's going to be robotaxi. That's going to be FSD. And I just got done driving with my best friend and my wife. We drove to return a pair of shoes of his. Then we drove to a lake to walk our dogs, and then we drove back home. All zero and disengagements, all of it. And that wasn't even on the latest version. That was on 11.3.6. So I'm telling you, this is coming a lot faster than people think. And I truly think that this is the year where FSD is solved. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have more work to do, because it'll always be a iterative process, right? Safety's never done. Safety is always day zero, but it'll get to a point where it's completed. And again, let me be very clear on my words. I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying we'll have robotaxi at the end of the year. I'm not saying you can get behind your or in the backseat of your car and be good. Now, does all that have to are those the benefits of solving FSD? Yeah, sure. But there are things that you have to get past, right? There's regulatory approvals. Tesla has to accept ownership of the fact that FSD is solved, right? There's a lot of things here. And so what I see happening, say with robotaxis mainly, right? Because this is where I think the needle really moves with robotaxis, is that I think in let's call it 2 years tops, 2 years. And I say 2 years because Giga Mexico breaks ground in another month? Say that takes 1 year to build. That puts you at mid 2024. Then another year to ramp up the factory to build robotaxis and everything. That's another year. So say mid 2025, I see robotaxis out on the road. And this is where I think it gets really nutty. Because let's say that you have your own Tesla vehicle and you want to put it into the Tesla fleet, into the Tesla ecosystem. All right, so now you paid for the vehicle. All right, so you paid Tesla for the vehicle. But then if I'm Tesla, I would make a requirement that in order to be part of the Tesla robotaxi fleet, you have to have Tesla insurance. All right, so now you have to pay Tesla insurance. So you're paying Tesla for the vehicle, you're paying them for the insurance. All right, well, now you need the software. So now you got to license the software. All right, so now you have that subscription. Okay, and then don't forget, you need to be able to charge the vehicle. Okay, well, that's Tesla supercharging again. All right, so you bought the vehicle, you're insuring the vehicle, you're paying for the beta or for the FSD software. You have to charge the vehicle. Okay, well, now it's in the fleet and it's going to go make you money. Oh, yeah, Tesla takes a cut of that. Whether it's 50-50, 70-30, Tesla takes a cut of that. So in this one vehicle, they're making money from you 5 different ways. And what's crazy? You're making money too. It is insane when you really think about this. And the reason why I think the robotaxi is the moment that everything explodes, right? I think things will just go crazy if this actually happens, when this actually happens, is because once they have solved the robotaxi, once they have robotaxis out there, no one's going to question if Optimus is going to happen. No one's going to be like, well, the guy who, has made first and second stage reusable rockets and they can land it by themselves. And, the guy who changed the whole world to move from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, and the guy who made those into real world AI and robotaxis all over. Nah, the Optimus, he's not going to be able to figure that one out. Yeah, right. You're going to see money diving into Tesla stock. My opinion, not financial advice. So I think one leads into the other. All right, let me share my screen again. Let's take another look and see where we're currently sitting on Tesla. Again, lots of drama going on today, especially with everything going on with the debt ceiling. There's still the standoff. It seems like we're not really getting a lot of resolution here. So we're down about 1.5%. Let's see what the market's doing here. Let's see. Ooh, market. Okay, so this, I don't know if you guys can see this. Microsoft warns that China hackers attacked U.S. infrastructure. Again, going back to cybersecurity and to what Wolfgang talked about before, Palantir. Very important. This is where AI is going to be very, very big. Let's see. If you guys saw the Fed minutes that came out today, let me see if I can zoom in on this. If you saw the Fed minutes that came out today, this essentially sums everything up. Fed officials less confident on the need for more rate hikes. Minutes show. So I think that's pretty exciting. I'm still not convinced that we don't see another rate hike in June. I think it's going to be very dependent on the numbers that we see Friday. And then obviously, I think a CPI report comes out on day one of their meeting. So I think those will really, make the decision for the Fed. But here's the big problem that the Fed has. All right. Let's say they really want to pause. Let's say they want to pause and they want to finish hiking. Well, some Fed members are saying, well, we want to pause, but we want the market to understand this doesn't mean we won't be hiking again. That's not going to work. Why is that not going to work, Nick? Explain that to me. Because this is the quintessential problem that happened in the 80s, which led to Paul Volcker coming in and crushing the market with extremely high interest rates, was that the market lost complete faith and confidence in the Fed, and they didn't believe them anymore. They kept pausing and starting, and essentially raising rates had no effect because the market didn't believe them anymore. So if they pause, that has to be it, because this Fed already has very low credibility. Don't forget, we got into this mess because because inflation was going up. The Fed kept saying it's transitory, it's transitory, it's transitory. All of a sudden, we got to what, 5-6% of inflation, and all of a sudden, okay, maybe it's not transitory. We get all the way up to 9%, and all of a sudden, we go still another like 3-4 months of them still printing money, them still not raising rates, and hell just broke loose. All right, so the Fed has very, very, very low credibility right now. They cannot afford to make another mistake towards the inflation side. All right, so let's see. What else we got here? Okay, so let me turn this over. Okay, so let's talk about the debt ceiling. So debt ceilings talks hit a snag over spending levels with 8 days until default deadline. This apparently this may not actually be the deadline, June 1st. We'll have to see. But this is going to come down to the last minute. Again, I still remember being at the academy in 2011, and government started to shut down. They were preparing for a default, and we were all just in our barracks just playing poker because, well, we had nothing else to do. Classes weren't happening or anything because all the teachers are government employees, so we couldn't do anything. We were government employees and we couldn't do anything. So it was a very weird period, but that I remember that very, very vividly. But essentially everything went down to the last minute. So we'll see what happens this time. I'd be shocked if it's anything different. What I do like, though, is that Biden is pushing for essentially a debt ceiling that pushes the next debt ceiling debate past the election. I like that because I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, this is all annoying of all these politicians acting like they all care about us, yet they're all in there for their own incentives. And frankly, none of this is for the people. None of this is by the people, in my opinion. All right, let's take a second there before we dive into some of the Ron DeSantis and Elon Musk, David Sachs interview coming up. I hope you guys are all having a good day. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. It's raining here now. Again, I'm in the Tampa Bay area. If you guys are from Florida and know where that is, if not, it's I live in St. Petersburg. So I consider St. Petersburg like the Austin meets Charleston meets San Diego of Florida. So in other words, the best part of Florida, right? The other way I joke about St. Petersburg is it's kind of like New York, New Jersey, where Jersey people go to Manhattan. Well, Manhattan people really don't go to Jersey, right? So it's the same kind of thing. St. Pete people will go to, or Tampa people will come to St. Pete. St. Pete people won't really go to Tampa, right? So, hopefully one of those kind of resonate with you as far as what the environment is like. Okay, so let's take a second here. Oh yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. So I actually had a great day. I hope you guys are all having a great day. I had a nice chance to kind of play hooky with the wife. And actually, you know what? Let me put this up here just so that we can keep an eye on this. I had a good chance to play a little hooky with the wife today. We had a beautiful walk this morning. Every Wednesday we go for a walk down to this like little cafe that we like to get like a little coffee. Oh, look at this. So market closed. Tesla closed down 1.5%. Okay, so not too bad. What's this compared to the broader markets? Let's see. Okay, so hey, about a beta of 2, right? So markets were down about, or NASDAQ was down about 0.6%. So that's about, right in line. All right. Anyway, so So we had a great day. We walked down to our local coffee shop that we really enjoy. We always split like a chocolate croissant, and then all of a sudden, she had a rough night last night. She didn't get a lot of sleep, so she thought she would take like a little bit of a sick day. Just kind of like need to kind of recuperate a little bit. And so then we headed to the beach, and we had a if you can't tell, I got a little color here. But yeah, so we had a great day. Hopefully, you guys all did as well. All right. So let's see. So we got people from Ohio. We got people from Mexico. We got people in Tennessee. Got people in Georgia. Shout out to Megan out in Georgia. Tell Tucker I said hi. So today's the big day is really all about this interview between Ron DeSantis and Elon Musk. All right. So this has become quite the controversy over the last 24 hours. So before I get into this, I always like to preface this with where I'm coming from. All right. So I don't ever consider myself as a Democrat. I don't consider myself as a Republican. I tend to go based off of where I think certain sentiments are on issues that I find important, right? Maybe at a certain point in my life, healthcare was more important to me. Maybe at a certain point, taxes were more important for me. Maybe at a certain point, immigration was more important for me. Maybe at a certain point, or what we're doing overseas is more important. So I like to be very nuanced on different topics. And so I'm not someone who really identifies as left or right. I guess, in a given time period, if you have to be completely binary about it, I can figure out who I'm voting for in an election. But I normally like to try and really understand things in a very, very deep way and keep my mind clear of any of the drama BS we see out there. All right. By the way, grab your drinks. So I'm going to need it for this call. Oh, we got Dallas. Nice. Hey, Gary. I love Dallas, by the way. I went there. It was called the Redwood Crescent Hotel, maybe something like that. But I was at a wedding there. My buddy Brian was getting married in Dallas, and I absolutely loved it. It was absolutely beautiful. Dallas is such a cool city. If you've never been there, it's not Houston. Is all I can say. It's not Austin either. Dallas is its own thing. Dallas felt more European to me, to be honest. So it was very interesting. Anyways, so yeah, so I'm with everything I'm gonna say, like just keep in mind, I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm Nick, right? That's who I am. And with that said, keep in mind, I am technically an immigrant. Okay, I wasn't born in this country. I was born in South America. I was born in Chile. My mom is from España. My dad's from Panama. My father currently lives in España in Alicante. So I'm an immigrant as it gets. Right. My wife's mom, she grew up in Greece as well. Right. So like this isn't again any kind of left or right thing or anything. But I have to talk about this. This is Ron DeSantis with Elon Musk on Twitter Spaces announcing his candidacy. I live in Florida. How can I not? And if there's one other thing I can show, let me present this. I've actually never shown this on here, but it's a I think it's a pretty cool picture. So here you can see this is me and the president. This was a number of years back when he was vice president, but yeah, so interesting. So I've met Joe Biden. Do I know the real Joe Biden? No. Do we ever know the real person? But yeah. Oh, nice. Wolfgang's from Germany. Love that. Love that. I spent a lot of time in Bremerhaven. Love Germany. Absolutely love it. All right. So with all those caveats and trying to show you that I'm, a very moderate person, let's talk about this. All right. What do I think of Ron DeSantis living in Florida? Well, my first thoughts when it comes to this really goes all the way back to the thing that the whole world experienced, right? I don't know what's going to get me demonetized or not here or banned, but it all starts back then. And at the time, I was living in North Carolina, in the Research Triangle area, and we were shut down, and I was sitting there just waiting for things to open back up. And I the one thing I cared about was the gym. I just want the gym to open back up because we were cooped up in our little space in our little apartment, and I just want to be able to go get a workout in, come home, just move my muscles and just feel better, right? Like, don't get me wrong. At first, it was kind of awesome, right? I worked at a tech company, so I didn't get laid off, so that was great. And then, me and some friends from all across the world, we were playing online poker, and we were making Long Island iced teas every day. So it was actually a lot of fun, but that wore off pretty quickly after about 3 weeks. And at that point, it was the whole 2 week thing. And then that got expanded to 3 weeks and the 4 weeks. And what I was really waiting for was for our gym to open back up. At the time, we were working out at O2 Fitness. And, in South Carolina, O2 Fitness had opened up, and we were days away from it opening up in North Carolina. And again, I was in the Research Triangle area. So just all tech there, right? It's like the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. And so it was maybe like 3 days before the gyms were supposed to open back up. And all of a sudden, the governor of North Carolina decided, okay, the gyms can't open up, but bars can. I was just like blown away. Liquor stores never closed, bars could open back up, but the gyms couldn't. And it just blew my mind away because, like, in the gym, you kind of always keep your distance from people. You wipe down your equipment every time when you're done. I hope you do at least. So it didn't make any sense to me. And I got frustrated. And so I packed up all my stuff. Well, my wife and I, we packed up our monitors, we packed up our computers, some clothes, we packed up a pan, a cutting board, some silverware, a knife, and our dog and his stuff. We put it in the car and we drove down to Florida. I had renters in my house that I currently live in now. I was renting it out for a year while we were in the Research Triangle area, and they were moving out at the same time we were coming back. And so we just came back in. We went to where we go? Was it Walmart? Target. We went to Target and we bought an air mattress, and that was it. We lived in this big empty house, right? This 4-story house with nothing but an air mattress, a frying pan, a cutting board. It's funny. We were walking down to coffee this morning. We were kind of reminiscing because this time of year is when we came down. And coming down here was almost like it felt like I had freedom again. Okay. Now, again, I'm not trying to sound corny here or anything, but it's what it felt like because when we were up there, couldn't go to the gym, restaurants were closed, bars were closed. If you were outside, like we had, you would have like, this happened once to us, but you would see it like, police would ask you like, where are you going? What are you doing? You had to have masks on outside. It was just crazy. It was crazy at the time. And coming to Florida, none of that was a thing, right? It was, you wear your mask inside. When you go to certain places, you can take it off after, but gyms were open, restaurants were open. Essentially it was, if you choose to go do something, then you choose to take the risk on, and that's life, right? We're all adults. We have to take our own chances. And so that was my first impression of Ron DeSantis. I thought he handled the whole thing that happened very, very well. I was very impressed with that. Now, since then, to be honest, I don't know much of what he has done or hasn't done. All right. I know there's the whole Disney thing going on right now. I'm a little plugged into that, to what's going on. But that drama is really not here nor there for me. That's the Orlando thing. And then there's also the don't say gay thing. I know that one gets people like really triggered. But there's also a lot of misinformation around that. It doesn't mean I agree with it, but there's also a lot of just, a lot of rhetoric around that, right? Like the bill doesn't say don't say gay or don't say gay, right? And again, like I have lots of friends that are gay. If you guys know St. Pete, like every other friend of yours is gay, right? So it's got nothing to do with that. But the bill's more, at least to my understanding, is more so about whether or not teachers should talk about those things to students at any age, right? Whether it's gay, transgenderism, anything, your sexuality, all that stuff, right? And again, like I don't have any kids that are in school or anything like that, so I don't have a real strong opinion about this. To be completely honest, it's not like one of my top things I care about. The things I really care about right now, honestly, are inflation, interest rates, the economy, our geopolitics. Like that's like so far down the list. And so the reason I'm saying this is because even if I don't really agree with it, like I don't think teachers should be telling kids what they should or shouldn't do, or like if you're like a 5 or 7 or 10 year old, like oh well, if you think you're this, well you might be that. Like I don't think that's a teacher's place at all. But at the same time, if a kid comes up to a teacher and is like, hey, like why does Jeremy say he have two dads? Like what do you expect the teacher to do in that point, right? Like teacher needs to explain this to him, right? Like that's a weird thing, or I guess you could say like go ask your parents. That's fair enough. But anyway, my point is I really don't have a dog in that fight, right? To me, like I kind of I see both sides of it, to be completely honest. But even if I don't agree with that, my real point here is nuance. Nuance is something that I feel like we just don't have enough anymore. Nuance is something that people don't want to talk about or care about when it comes to elections for some reason. And if you don't agree with one thing that someone says, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person. If there's one thing that you don't agree with, it doesn't mean that you should just completely write them out and that everything else is bad, right? I give you a great example. All right. Like I could care less about Trump. I'm not a Trump fan, and I think he says a lot of stupid things. But damn it, if he didn't do great from a geopolitical perspective, he didn't get us into any wars. And really, that's all I care about is not getting into wars. Taxes were lower. That's great. And the economy was booming. So can I not like everything else but appreciate those things? Yeah, I can. I have the capacity to. You have the capacity to do that. But for some reason, this dialogue doesn't happen in this country. We're seeing that right now with Elon interviewing Ron DeSantis, right? Everybody's automatically sitting there saying that Elon is a Nazi, that Elon's some fascist, that all of a sudden Twitter's this right wing, social media platform, and it's unreal that this guy who is pushing the world towards electrification, who has started companies that's all about advancing sustainable energy for the world. A guy who started essentially all his companies in California, who's an immigrant, everything, and who has said repeatedly he's a moderate, and he voted for Biden in the last election. And you're sitting there calling him a extreme right wing platform, all this stuff, all because he's going to interview Ron DeSantis, who's a governor in a purple state. Yes, a purple state. Now, has it gone red the last two times? Yes, barely. But why did Ron DeSantis win so overwhelmingly the governorship? It's because, frankly, people like the job he did in Florida as a governor. And that means a lot of Democrats voted for him. And this is the truth, right? So why is it such a big deal for people? Why do they just go off the cliff whenever Elon wants to interview him? Because he's choosing to go ahead and make his announcement on Twitter. Like that's just mind blowing to me. All right, it's so mind blowing to see people just react so extreme that Omar, right? So Omar's catalog, we all know him. He's a Democrat. He's open about it. He's a Democrat. He lives in California. He's in tech. He's, again, as Democrat as you probably can get. But now people are calling him a Nazi. This is the whole like woke mind virus that Elon talks about. Is that I don't know what happened to a lot of these Democrats and I'm not gonna say all Democrats because I believe the majority of Democrats aren't like this, but there are a lot that get triggered about these things, and it's just kind of crazy to me that you can't just parse things out for what they are. Elon's telling you he's a moderate. Elon's saying that this is a platform for free speech. Free speech used to be such a big part of the Democratic Party. I don't know what happened to that. But Elon Musk is sitting there just trying to bring this guy on, let him announce. And if Joe Biden wants to do it, he can do it. right? If anyone else on the Democratic Party wants to do it, they can do it. If Hillary Clinton wants to run, she can come on and he'll interview her as well. It's the town hall. It's for the people. And why we should really be happy about this is because I don't think Elon's going to give any softballs, right? That's not. I don't think Elon will. I think we need to have more of these debates and conversations move into these type of mediums, away from the Fox News, the CNN, the MSNBC, where we have these debates that are, here's a question from the audience that isn't scripted at all, and give us a 90-second response. Okay, you have a 30-second rebuttal. That's BS. That's just BS. That is just no nuance or anything. So I love that this is happening. What I would love to see is this evolve into having debates via Twitter, or debates having hopefully it'd be video, but via Twitter Spaces, and have like a Joe Rogan as a moderator or something like that, right? Like let's evolve this. Let's level up our whole process. And I think that by Ron DeSantis announcing on Twitter instead of going on, Fox or CNN or anything else like that, I think this sends a very strong message, right? He is not the traditional candidate for the Republicans, right? The Republicans are backing Trump. The Democrats are backing Biden. And so I would love to see all these other candidates for the Democrat and Republican Party come onto Twitter, announce via Twitter, go on to the All In podcast, right? I think that would be really good for just our society in general, to be able to have real conversations, get more nuance, get away from these 90-second memorized clips. Anyways, so I think this is positive. Now, how's this going to affect the stock, Tesla stock? Well, just when everybody was happy that it seemed like Elon was stepping away from Twitter's day to day, and he'd be focusing more on Tesla again. Here he is, just front and center once again into politics. But I think he's doing it because he sees no other choice, right? There's nothing else he can do, right? He gets himself into these things that really he has nothing he can do, right? So for instance, he didn't want to get into the EV market, but no one else is doing it, so he had to do it, right? Same with getting into the space game and trying to get to Mars. They didn't want to do it, but no one was doing it, so he had to do it. Twitter was going off the rails. There's censorship now, we know, all this stuff. He had to buy it. And I think he sees that now. He sees that our country is getting so divided that despite the fact that, again, that he says he's a moderate, he goes on all these, he'll go on a conservative interview, he'll go on a liberal interview, he'll go on a moderate interview, right? He did David Faber. I think that's pretty moderate. He had what was it, Wall Street Journal. I mean, he's staying balanced across the spectrum, and I think that that's what this is. Now, if people can't understand that, well, that's on them. But I think Elon's interjecting himself into this space because by doing that, he can try and bring us back as a country, like heal us as a society. And all I can say is don't bet against Elon, right? I think he probably will do it. And I think that if he's got Ron DeSantis coming on to announce, I would almost bet you that you're going to see something from a Democrat on Twitter soon. Now, talking about it from the Republican side, this is where, not saying I'm a Republican, just talking about from the Republican Party, this is where things get interesting. What does Donald Trump do now, right? So this is almost like the funniest thing that Elon Musk could do to essentially poke at Trump. And I think it's absolutely comical. And there's no way him and like David Sachs and Chamath and all of them haven't talked about it. There's absolutely no way. So what am I talking about? All right, let's think about this. Trump was banned from Twitter. Elon buys Twitter. Elon opens it up to everybody, including Donald Trump, and unbans everybody. So Trump can now come back to Twitter. Trump says he doesn't want to come back to Twitter. There's no need to. True Social is great. It's great. It's better than Twitter. Twitter's hurting and all that, etc. Whatever Trump says. Now, Ron DeSantis is announcing on Twitter. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has essentially spent all his campaign money up to this point on ads against Ron DeSantis. But now there's going to be so much news, so much hype, so much noise about Ron DeSantis on Twitter with Elon Musk. Even if it's not the Ron DeSantis news, it's Elon Musk. This gets interesting because that will not stop. And the only way to stop that and stop the noise and everything coming up from that would be, and this would be like honestly a brilliantly calculated move by Trump's side, would be if during the debate during the announcement and the interview, if Trump tweeted something, if that was his first time coming back, like that would be absolutely hilarious. The media would love that. CNN, Fox, all of them would love it because now they'd have all this content to talk about. But that would be absolutely hilarious. I would love to see that. But I think this is actually going to force Trump's hand to come back onto Twitter. I think it's going to be very hard. The things Elon's doing, he's definitely injecting a lot of energy and important people and discussions into Twitter. And I think that's important. I think Elon has to lead that. And so having Ron DeSantis come in, I think that's a very big deal. He needs to get a Democrat to come in. Ideally, he'd get like a moderate Green Party type person come in as well. And I think that'd be absolutely excellent. But it would drown out Trump and Truth Social. And so the only way for them to make noise would be Trump would have to cave and come back onto Twitter. So I'm not saying that this is Elon's intention, but man, is it not a hilarious byproduct of all of this? So we'll see what happens here. I don't think that this will be a big deal for Tesla stock in the big scheme of things. I know people don't like Elon doing all this. People essentially want Elon to shut up and go be CEO of Tesla and just do that, focus on that. Well, to those people, I say you better go sell your stock because you're never going to be happy otherwise. Elon's going to do Elon, and he's going to say what he wants to say. He's going to do what he wants to do, and guess what? That's part of the ride of investing in Tesla, right? Like let this guy do his thing. Ooh, Salem, Oregon. Oregon is a beautiful state, absolutely gorgeous. If you've never been to Oregon, but yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much if you're an investor. Look, what matters right now for Tesla stock, it's not Elon interviewing Ron DeSantis. It's this debt ceiling. That's number one, and then from there, it's gonna just be about execution. Which, look, it's getting scary out there for these other OEMs. Ford had their whole Ford Day, whatever. That wasn't great. And then, what was it? GM announced the new, Escalade IQ or whatever. Ooh, not good. Look at this. I love this. I trust in Tesla, even if it takes a couple of years longer. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with this. Look, it's the way I see it, this is inevitable, especially when you see what the competition is doing. Again, David Faber interviewed Elon, and again, I can't stress this enough. He's gone and sat with the Wall Street Journal. He sat with Tucker Carlson. He sat with David Faber. He's doing everything. He's being as moderate as he can be, talking with everybody. You know what? He's saying the same message every damn time. Like he's very consistent, and I love that about him. But what one thing David Faber was saying was that just seeing the factory, seeing the sheer size and what's going on, he literally said it today. He said like I will never forget that. He said I will never forget what I saw there, and I forget who it was. Oh my goodness, my mind. Bayer Capital, I think is what it was. I can't remember right now, but I think the CEO of it or the founder, it's like a Ron Barron guy. I don't know much about him, but he was talking about like his big shots, big investments, etc. And he named Tesla, and he was saying that he went to Austin, he went to the factory there, and then he said that he was also invited to one of it must have been GM because he mentioned Mary Barra, but let's just say one of the OEMs. He was invited to their factories to see what they were doing and stuff, and he was saying on CNBC to David Faber, he was saying they're in trouble. Tesla's at least 5 years ahead of everybody. It's not even close, and they're moving faster, right? You could see it in his eyes. In his eyes, he was saying like they're in really big trouble. And proof of this is listening to Ford and Jim Farley. Look, they're sitting there talking about 8% margins in 2026. And that's not even the most telling part. The most telling part is the fact that with Ford, they're starting to, again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see this. They're focusing on certain segments, and that's all they're going to be. Ford is just going to be that. They're going to be like a SUV and pickup truck company, and that's it. Mustang Mach-E may not even survive, I don't think. But that's what they're going for. They're going to become a niche automaker. I don't think Ford will die. I just think Ford will not be what they were. Ford will go the way of maybe like a Porsche, right? Like just very few iconic brands, and that's what they're going to make, and that will be it. So it's telling, but it's how do you compete against them? How do you compete against Tesla when you're so far behind? Let's see. Are you back into buying Tesla again, Nicholas, or still holding to put? But not adding. Yeah, great question. So I actually I put in about another 50K. Well, I didn't mean to say that. Let's live stream, whatever. I put in about another 50K into Tesla about a week ago, week and a half ago. I forget the date. It was like a 168. So whenever that was. Yeah, so I put more money back into that. I'm slowly deploying capital back into it. I'm still holding, a little bit for a rainy day. You never know what tomorrow can hold. You never know what invasion rate that could happen. But yeah, I definitely, after that investor day, and after not even just investor day, but also seeing 11.4.1, it's like, all right, yeah, that's it. And then I felt even more confident about it after, I went through all of Ford's shareholder investor day kind of thing and seeing what they had. It's, guys, this again, not as financial advice, but to me, like nothing seems more obvious. Whether you're talking about disruption in EV, whether you're talking about disruption in energy, whether you're talking about AI. I mean, from an AI perspective, Elon said it best, and I still don't think people understand what he said. So keep in mind, so GPT it's a transformer, okay? And Tesla uses a bunch of transformers within their FSD models. I'm trying to speak high level here. And so they have very good grasp on how large language models work. And what Elon was saying was that if you took Microsoft and OpenAI and you told them, right, and Microsoft, OpenAI, I'm including Microsoft because they essentially owned OpenAI at this point with their $10 billion investment. If you told them, hey, with all your knowledge from GPT-5 and on, ChatGPT and all that stuff, everything you guys know, start today and try to and we as Tesla will stop working on FSD. Let's see you guys get to where we are. In the meantime, we're gonna stop doing what we're doing, and we're gonna go and work on making a chat model like GPT-5. It wouldn't even be close. Tesla would smoke them. They would be so far ahead. And that's what I think the market doesn't realize. They don't realize how much talent, how much sophistication, how much experience Tesla has with this, right? Large language models aren't new. Neural nets aren't new. It's new now for the masses because we've put a web interface in front of it. But this has been around since like the 90s, guys. Like these concepts have actually been around, I think, since the 70s. So none of this is new. What's really new is the compute has gotten to a place, and we were able to learn some things with images and recognition. We took large language models and applied it to images, and that was really the groundbreaking moment. And then you saw what Google did with all the protein synthesis, and then that's just exploded. And then the reason it's exploited now to the masses where, your grandmother knows about ChatGPT. It's just because there's an interface in front of it that people can interact with. So it's kind of crazy that people just don't understand this. Let's see, a couple comments here. I hodl since 2017 because I'm not smart enough to trade Tesla. Neither am I. I'm with you. And you know what? It's the best trade I've done is the ones I haven't done, which is not selling Tesla. So that's exciting. Oh, whoa, this is interesting. We're gonna look at this in a second here. I want to get through a couple more of these comments. This is really interesting. Something just popped up here. Let's see. The Hummer battery teardown was crazy. Pure obnoxious waste. Yes, exactly. Exactly. This this is what people don't understand. People sit there and say, "Oh, GM's coming out with all these models and all this," and then that's it. That's where it becomes intellectually dishonest listening to any of these anchors or on any of these pundits. It's intellectually dishonest because what they're not saying is that what they're doing is not innovative. What they're doing is essentially bolting on a solution onto an ICE vehicle that's not profitable, that will never scale, but they need to put something out there for the marketing, the campaign, etc., to show that they're doing something and they're not irrelevant. That's all they're doing. This great example here. Sandy Monroe did a breakdown of the Hummer battery, and essentially it was nothing but a waste. From the steel to the welds to the battery itself, Ultium, what is essentially a joke. It's nothing special about it, nothing innovative. It was a waste. There's so much waste in it. And that's not me saying this. This is Sandy Monroe. Please don't let your channel become political. It's not political. Again, I'm saying this, nonstop. I'm not left. I'm not right. I'm just Nick. I'm a case by case point of view kind of guy. But Ron DeSantis with Elon Musk today and David Sachs. I live in Florida. Right? I can't not say this or talk about this. But I think it's good for democracy to see more people talk about these things. Let's see. And you also can run LLMs, diffusion models, etc., local now with normal hardware, stable diffusion. Yeah, stable diffusion is awesome. Just give people the tools, and everybody gets so great. Yes, exactly, right. This is such a great point. This is like what the App Store was, right? It's the same kind of thing where it's like people didn't know what the App Store would become, like with Apple, but it allowed a new wave of creativity and new innovations and ideas and just to foster, and it grew. And that's what's happening right now with LLMs and everything. And this right here is a perfect example of where what ChatGPT is doing is great. Like, I'm not trying to play it down or anything. Like, I love what they do. Like, I use ChatGPT on the regular. I still like it better than Bard. But this is the real power here. Exactly what Master FX 2000 is saying is that it's what can come from it, the creativity that can come from it. That's what's a real big deal. That's what's really important, because we don't know how this will get spun off, right? And as long as the APIs are open and we can all, plug in and pull, like, it's the possibilities are endless. Now, from a Tesla perspective, so I'm going to get into this, and this will dive right back into what just came up here. I haven't even read this yet, but this seems like it's pretty big news. So I want to say what I'm about to say, and then we'll dive into this because, again, this just came up. But this is where I think it's very exciting why people still don't understand Tesla's AI lead is everybody can't just do what Tesla's doing, right? This is where Gary Black gets it wrong. This is where Gary Black, unfortunately, this is where his lack of knowledge from an engineering perspective really bites him in the ass, which you don't even need to be an engineer to understand this, because I think, what's his name? Warren Redlick, he actually understands this very well. So if you listen to him talk about this stuff, it's impressive to see like how well ramped up he is on this topic. But again, you don't need to be an engineer to understand this stuff. If you want to learn something, you can go learn it, right? I don't like these arguments from authority, like, oh, I got a degree in this or a PhD in this, so I know more than you. No, we're humans. We're all smart. We can all learn. But with Tesla, to get to where they are, right? It's not like everybody can just do it, right? Once Tesla solves it, other people can't just replicate this. It's not like they can just sit there and get a few lines of Python or JSON or whatever, and like, oh, look at this, I can do this as well. I was just missing this comma here, and all of a sudden it works. It was just a syntax error. No, that's not how this works. They you would still need to get all the data that Tesla has managed to collect over time. You would still need to have all the compute to train it. You would still need to have the data engine to label and synthesize and clean all that data. Then you still need to train the models. Then you still need to have that whole iterative process with your fleet, right? It's all these things have to happen to catch up, assuming Tesla's approach is correct. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the Waymo and Cruise methodology. And so, unless you're collecting all this data, unless you have the fleet out there, unless you have all this hardware out there, sending everything back and doing everything the right way, right? And Tesla had to restart a couple times. They had a whole rewrite. They had to ditch Mobileye. They had to, get rid of all the external labelers and third-party labelers. And they had to hire their own labelers to do it right. Right? Like it's not like this Tesla's just doing this overnight. So I believe this will be a winner takes most field. I compare it to the likes of Google. All right. Google search engine. Look, Google has had a search engine dominance for how long? And still nobody's caught up. So this whole thing where Gary Black is trying to say, like, there will be like 4 or 5 different winners. I don't believe this. I think it's gonna be like a Google. To this day, nobody can rival Google. Right. So like Bing is out there trying to do stuff, but look, I'm sorry, nobody's going to Bing. I don't care what you incorporate with it. Google is the de facto. There is nothing better than Google. The only thing I would say is better than Google right now would be ChatGPT in its OpenAI interface, not in a Microsoft interface. And that's just complete honesty right there. Biased, opinion based, but that's what I think. Let's see. And who are investing billions to compete against Tesla AI. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. Okay. So with all of that said, let me share this. I'm assuming this is breaking news. I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I haven't read this. I saw the headline. I'm like, okay, well, this seems big. So let me find the right window. Gonna share this. Okay. So, all right. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is about NVIDIA. So, all right. So let's see how this affects Tesla. NVIDIA share spiked 15% on huge forecast beat driven by AI chip demand. Oh, okay. All right. You want? All right. You guys are going to get crack. All right. This is how honest I am. All right. I'm honest to a fault. I read this headline. And the reason I thought this was related to Tesla was because all I saw was right here. I saw Drive. I saw AI. I saw NVIDIA share spike 15%. And so in my head, I thought this had something to do with autonomous vehicles. Wow. Whatever. My fault. Apologies. Didn't mean to make this sound as big as what it was, but whatever. Let's read this. Let's see what this is about anyways, because this is still on topic. All right. So let's scroll down here. NVIDIA reported first quarter earnings for its fiscal 2024 on Wednesday with stronger than expected forecasts that drove shares up 15% in extended trading. Here's how the company did versus Refinitiv consensus estimates of the quarter. Okay. So EPS was 109, adjusted versus 92. Wow, that's a big beat. Revenue 7.19 billion versus, wow, that's a huge beat. Wow. Tesla's spending a lot on chips. That's all this tells me. Tesla's definitely spending their money on chips here. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, something else that's funny. What was I saying? I was about to make fun of myself again. Oh no, I wasn't gonna make fun of myself. I was making. Okay, so I know I'm like talking bad about other companies here and there, but hey, I'm just calling it like it is. I was watching parts of Dell. Dell, if you guys know, like the server company, the laptop company. Dell had their Dell World or whatever the other day, and it was hilarious. Like I'm sitting there listening to Michael Dell in an interview, and he's talking about how they're using AI and and they have AI for all these things, etc. And this is just becoming such a buzz thing, guys. It's hilarious. Listen, Dell doesn't do anything with AI. I mean, maybe they're doing stuff internally I'm not aware of. They're a server company. They don't make chips. They don't even have VMware anymore. They spun VMware off. That got bought by who bought VMware? Broadcom. Yeah, weird, right? Broadcom bought VMware, so they don't even have that. So they're not really doing software. It's they're a server company. They're a 3-tier stack company. It's it's honestly comical to me that they're going to sit there and act like they have a stake in this AI race. Maybe they're doing some stuff we're not aware of, but this is just becoming the thing now, right? And again, it's so funny to see these hype cycles. We like I don't even remember what was before crypto, but we went from crypto's like as far back as I can remember, like more or less recently of like where everybody was talking about stuff. So it's crypto, we had metaverse, we had all these different EV companies people were talking about. And I guess now, unless I'm missing something, now it's AI. And it's look, how many times do we have to see the same thing happen where all this hype cycle goes up and down, up and down? It's don't fall for this stuff. Uh, this one. Dell rebranding as done. Let's see, Raymond. NVIDIA may have the autonomous chips, but every company will have to create an extended hardware to work with it, unlike Tesla's vertically integrated hardware. Yeah, yeah, well said. Yeah, and then remember, like the NVIDIA chips that Tesla's using is essentially for their servers, right? So they have all these racks with all of these GPU heavy servers that are doing all of the compute for them. And it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to know like what CPUs are tied to those GPUs. I would love to know that. Like, I wonder if they're Intel or ARM based. Sorry, getting a little too geeky there, probably for some people. But yeah, no, that's a great point. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Now I want to get a little bullish for you guys. So hopefully you guys don't mind this. Oh, hold on one second. Got another good one here. What will happen if Tesla Dojo will be commercial available as competition for NVIDIA for AI TP? Ooh, yeah, that's okay. So I really think this is going to happen. All right. So this is the space I live in. Okay, this is the world I live in. I think this is happening. I think this is such an obvious thing to be leveraging Dojo for right now. Look, we're talking about Master FX 2000. Thanks for saying this because you're triggering thoughts I have sometimes, and I'm like, well, I don't want to make a video just on that, and so I'm happy you brought this up. So right now we talked about Optimus and FSD, right? We talked about how FSD beta is out there. It's essentially a minimal viable product. Let me silence here. I'm getting blown up right now on like a group text. All right, do not disturb. So we talk about FSD beta. It's out there. It's like a minimal viable product, right? It's out there, right? You want to get out there, get used, people using it, so then you can iterate. It's great for internal teams because it's like dopamine hits of success and getting better and seeing progress. The masses like it because they're part of something. Great. Optimus will be the same kind of thing, right? It's low hanging fruit. Get it out there, even if it's just moving boxes, even if it's just sorting things out. Get it out there, get it doing work. Minimal viable product. All right, Dojo. I feel like Dojo should be doing that, right? Dojo is such an obvious thing. If Tesla's not actually using Dojo internally, if it's still like a work in progress, they should be leasing out, compute hours to the masses to train their own neural nets. You could undercut so many companies doing this, right? I mean, and you have the Tesla logo behind it. Like, that would be absolutely insane. This is such an obvious market for them to get into. This would disrupt NVIDIA well, not completely, but it would be a big way to disrupt NVIDIA. It's a whole different way. And imagine if that's all they do. They're like a public cloud for renting compute dedicated to compute for neural nets, right? Like, the whole architecture, everything is different. That would be insane. That would be bonkers to me. Bonkers. I just said bonkers. Those Dojo chip assemblies are amazing. Yeah, the Dojo tiles. Yeah, what's crazier is how they cool them, right? Like, if you've ever stepped foot in a data center, those hot cold aisles, like the hot aisles. I mean, like, first of all, you're wearing like ear protection, but it's so there's just so much air and such high electric bill on your AC to keep everything cool. So it's amazing how they're able to cool everything. If I remember correctly, I mean, it's been James Dalma, me and Dave Lee, I think a couple other people. We had something, gosh, I guess like a year ago now, a little less than a year ago. But I think we were looking at it, and I think it's liquid cool if I remember correctly. But anyways, yeah, it's so impressive from an architecture perspective, and we're not even talking about like the software that overlays everything. Like absolutely impressive. Hell yeah, Dr. Jack has your back. Love that. Let's go Tesla. Let's see. Dojo as a combined software and hardware service will be interesting if commercially viable. There will be competition like Microsoft versus Amazon, AWS. I actually see this. Yeah, potentially. I would see this more as a disruptor for like Nvidia. But I agree. I think it'll be something very similar to this. It will be like a Microsoft, Amazon, GCP type product. But I love that it would be solely focused on on training nets, and that's it. Um, okay, so let's let's look at a couple other things real quick. So I forgot I had a point I was getting to. Well, anyways, I think that could be a big business for them, right? So Dojo doesn't actually have to be ready. It doesn't have to be better than what Nvidia is doing. But what Nvidia is doing, keep in mind, Nvidia is the hardware of it. Nvidia isn't the software. So if Tesla can layer on the hardware plus the software plus the efficiency, because I'm not saying NVIDIA chips, like some of them now are geared towards more machine learning, right? I think they're definitely leaning towards that way, but they weren't initially like that architecture. Like, if you ever like, opened up like a x86, server and seeing like where those GPUs plug into, that that architecture isn't laid out for this type of training, right? And that's where it's completely radical what Dojo is because it's coming completely from a lens of training nets, neural nets, or just machine learning in general, whatever terminology you want to use. So it is fundamentally different. And so even if Tesla doesn't have a completely obvious performance, you know, advantage over NVIDIA, what they would also have is the architecture that adds into it, layer on Tesla type software on top of it, and maybe like Tesla, professional services, ProServe to help them. Like that could be a real thing. Like I'm not saying that I would put that in a model for next year, but you know, there's no reason not to double down on that, in my opinion. And that way they also get to learn, right? Like that's kind of like it'd be Dojo beta almost. Anyways, let's see. Um, FSD level 5 to be solved this year. So I don't know if it'll be level 5. I don't like the level stuff. Here's what I think. At the end of this year, I think FSD beta will be solved where you'll be behind the wheel, you won't be making any inputs. It's going to be doing everything for you. It'll be. I don't think you'll. I don't even want to say rare. It'd be. It would be such a huge anomaly. It'd be like a 1%, maybe 1% thing if you ever have an input into it. I think that's what we could get to at the end of this year. That doesn't mean you'll be in the back of the car. That doesn't mean that you'll have robo taxis yet, but that's where we'll be. And the reason I say all that is because I think you're going to need some regulation stuff for being able to get in the back of your seat. You'll need regulation for robo taxis. Tesla has to build Giga Mexico, which we know is where robo taxi will be built. So there's more infrastructure that has to be done. There's more approvals, more regulations. All that has to come through. But I think the tech part of it will be at the point where now we're looking at that. Now it's serious. Now it's not a matter of when will FSD finally get there. It'll be when are the robo taxis ready? When do we get the regulation? Right? It's going to be that. It's going to be the red tape, the paperwork process. That's where I think we'll be. Is it worthwhile for Tesla to get into chip manufacturing from an investing perspective? So I think yes, sometimes, no, sometimes. So back in, what was it, 2021, when there's the chip shortage, I thought yes. But now I say no. And the reason why is I think we have plenty of fabs. I think you're going to start seeing fabs come to the United States. I think you're going to see more fabs built here. You're going to see more fabs going to India. I don't think that that's going to be a bottleneck at all. I think the reason you still see companies like GM and Ford have that bottleneck with chips is because they're using dated legacy chips that were built specifically for the auto industry. Tesla, stopped doing that a while ago, and even then, Ford and GM, they don't have the software engineers that can rewrite firmware for the chips. So there are lots of issues there, but I I don't think Tesla needs to make their own or to build their own fabs. It may come to that. The only reason I would see that as being really necessary, because here's the other thing: it takes years to get that going, and then yeah, I don't know. This is a hard one because here's the thing too. Like when it comes to Tesla or Elon, it's like, am I thinking too small? Right? That's what I always try to think. Like, am I thinking too small? Think bigger, Nick. What if we have 100 million robo taxis across the world? What if we have billions of Optimus bots out there? Well, then wouldn't it make sense to have our own chip fabs or chip manufacturing plants? Well, in that case, that's where I'm like, yeah, well, that would make sense. So we might as well start now, thinking long term. So I think long term it makes sense. In the short to medium term, meaning in the next 5 to 10 years, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, you're not wrong. It could make a lot of sense. Let's see. Everybody uses NVIDIA hardware now. Dojo could be the first hardware and software competitor. They have PyTorch frameworks. Yeah, no, this is a great point. Yeah, and really that's the part, right? It's the hardware and the software. If you're in this space at all, or just in your life in general, you can get a good understanding for when software isn't married with purpose built hardware, right? This is where you see companies like Apple does a very good job where their software is purpose built for their hardware and it works so much better versus a Windows on some random HP or Dell laptop, right? And if you're not an Apple fan, then you probably don't get that. But you see this in other places too, like Amazon, right? Amazon and their what is it, Graviton, their Graviton chips and hardware, plus their virtualization on top of all of that, right? It works so much better than any of the x86 stuff. And so I think this would be the same thing. Dojo, which would be Tesla hardware with the software that is built to marry with that purpose-built hardware rather than we're just layering this on top. I think this would be huge because again, NVIDIA is really just the hardware part of it. Let's see. The way for AI chips are cool too. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Lab experiment. Could happen if the Taiwan China thing goes south, TSMC, just like they are forced to process lithium. Yeah. Yeah, that's the big worry. Again, I know all these other fabs are spooling up, but yeah, the big worry is what happens from a geopolitical perspective. Let's see. Chip foundry is very expensive. Not clear if best use for Tesla money. Maybe joint investment. Yes, and that's the thing too. It's like they only have so much cash, right? So where do you deploy that cash to make the most sense? I kind of love this India idea because it's going to be the next, like it's thinking like it's like when you play chess, right? Like I mean, I don't know how many of you play chess, but the better you get at chess, the more you're thinking, not what your next move is, but you're thinking, what are my next 3 to 4 moves and what's my opponent trying to do and what might their next 3 to 4 moves be, right? You're thinking ahead. And I think doing something in India will make a lot of sense because the question is, what did you know India's already surpassed China population wise? I didn't know that. So you have India is the biggest global market in the world. They're fast. They're growing very quickly as far as pulling out of poverty, all those things. They're the next big market. It seems to make a lot of sense. They have a lot of talent there. Like, go ahead, get in there now, build your factories now, and in 5-10 years, you might be very happy that you got in there as early as you did. How do you guys think geopolitics would affect Giga Mexico? Aren't they near the cartel? So I think Tesla has relationships here. I think they have been given assurances that this won't be an issue. So, so yeah, I don't think that's an issue. We'll find out, but I don't think it will be. Let's see. Fabs cost yeah, yeah, that's a lot of money. Let's see. I watched YouTube on a company that made machine that makes chips, and they said machine was only 200 million. Not sure. Well, but it's not just the machines; it's also like the factories. Like these clean rooms are insane, and then you have to have the expertise for it, the IP, and that's the other thing too. Tesla doesn't just want to get into anything; they want to get into spaces where they can make a fundamental difference, right? They may not be able to really make a fundamental difference when it comes to chips, right? Like, so if they can't make a meaningful difference, then maybe it doesn't make sense to expend their time and energy into those fields. All right, let's see. Lower taxes until he was out of taxes were permanent. Oh, this is going back to I think Trump and stuff like that. I don't. I'm just popping these up. I'm not reading them ahead of time. U.S. discouraged its export China, maybe some opportunity to use it as a base for use. That's a good point. But again, I think it really depends on Tesla needs to be able to have a differentiator. Otherwise, I'm not really sure they would get into anything, right? With like lithium mining, they are coming with a whole differentiated approach. Battery making, a new approach. Even their motors are completely different, right? All the things they get into, they have to have a meaningful improvement in what's being done in that current architecture. Okay, last one here. Unlikely that Tesla will do a chip manufacturer. Okay, yeah. Okay, so same thing here. Okay, so and no, they have not broken ground on Civic in Mexico. I think that starts next month, maybe 2 months. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody who jumped onto the stream. Again, I forgot to say this stuff, but like and subscribe if you want. Again, today at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so about an hour and 3 minutes from now, we're gonna have Ron DeSantis being interviewed by Elon Musk with moderator David Sachs. Again, I live in Florida. My experience is that Ron DeSantis has been a good governor here. To be honest, I kind of don't want him to be president just because I don't want to have a different governor. And again, you don't have to like everything one person does or says. I don't like everything Elon says, but overall, Elon is better for the world. I'm not. I think we just need to be more nuanced, guys. Like just because you don't agree with two, three, four, five things someone says doesn't mean that you can't find other things you do agree with what they think. So I would urge you to approach if you watch this, watch it with an open mind, with that in mind. I'm more curious to hear how Elon interviews, hear what Elon questions, and if he pushes back. Right, that's what I want to see. I want to see this be the real deal, to be a place where Elon doesn't allow just basic rhetoric come through. I want him to challenge DeSantis. I'm not saying I want a debate here. I don't want a CNN Trump town hall kind of thing again, right? I want real substance. I want, if someone says something, you dive deeper. I want a real intellectual conversation. I think that's what we lack. That's the best way to say it. I keep saying nuance. That's what we lack. We need more intellectual conversations within our government. And we need to have them in the public square, which at this point is Twitter. So bravo to Elon for doing this. I'm looking forward to a very, hopefully good intellectual conversation, intellectual honesty, as Chamath always says. So let's have fun. All right. I got my drink here. Go grab you a drink. And, we'll chat about this later via Twitter and, see what we all think. All right. I love you all. Thanks for the time. Peace.